Yeah.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Melinda Molnar. This is Iridescent, and we have conversations about what we're noticing of our fifth dimensional selves stepping into this new human awareness, and the upward almost digging, if you will, the ascension and ascension process. Where do we find that we get stuck or we get pulled back? This wobbling and waving that seems to be just the nature of this human evolution.
Beautifully
Oh,
said, Melinda.
thank you. Thank you. So today, the topic that just came to us a few minutes ago, and part of what we love is how just, okay, here's a topic, let's talk about it, what comes in. And especially in a conversation, it just brings up so much juicy uh, points and perceptions and things that we can digest. So what came in was self-sabotage. And tying it to last week's, we were talking about how difficult it is to release relationships, even relationships that don't serve us. And this, whether it be intimate relationship with friends or family, and ultimately it stems from the relationship within you, of yourself, from yourself to yourself. And if that relationship isn't aligned with that one source, that one truth, then it's kind of like slightly outside of the circle. So there are experiences of missing the mark, some forms of abuse, even though it may not be right in front of your face. And to soothe the pains that come from that, then we start to do self-sabotaging. And that can come in any form. It can come from the most obviously seen and pained substance abuse to very light. It can be missed by a lot of people, like health fanatic. I eat so healthy and I go to the gym all the time and I do everything that's just good, the best for myself. And what's driving that? Is it really alignment in that truth, or it's a form of control, a form of avoiding facing your feelings, so you fill your life with things to do that are known to be healthy? So it really is the intent. It goes down to the where it's originating from, what kind of judgments, self-judgments, or aligning into self that is in the basis of this. So that's a quite wide range where that self-sabotage expresses itself. And how do we pull back from it? How do we just release it? Because even when you release it, many times it comes back. Like, I thought I worked through this. What is going on this time? So I'm
Yeah,
gonna give this to you, iridescent, what you see, feel, pull down from this.
yeah, I think, thank you for starting it off. I think you laid such a good foundation there, and made really good points. What's coming through for me listening to you is, yeah, I think self-sabotage, like most things, it's a spectrum. It can be very obvious and it can be very subtle, and almost invisible. So I find that for me, at least in my journey, it's been easier to like notice the very obvious signs of my self-sabotage. So let me see if I can make some examples, or do they even matter? Um, for me, that's like canceling obligations because I'm just not feeling like, when I say not feeling well, I don't mean like sick or whatever. It's like, oh, I just like don't want to do that. This feels hard. Like the motivation piece of it. And then when it's more subtle, for me, it comes in this form of like uh pressure of like, oh, um, for me, I usually self-sabotage kind of what I just pinpointed. It's like a tendency to like overcommit. So that's a form of self-sabotage. That's true for me. And then when I overcommit, it's like trying to refine that balance. I feel like that self-sabotage version of me will prioritize the like quote unquote easier tasks. Um, I don't know. But anyways, where I'm trying to go with it is depending on where you're at in the scale of self-sabotage, I think finding the awareness is important because I found for me in the past when I wasn't aware of my self-sabotaging tendencies, what would happen is I would start self-sabotaging. I would kind of recognize or feel that I'm self-sabotaging or that, just something isn't going right, and then that would trigger for me guilt and shame a lot of the time, which would then perpetuate and or anxiety, which would then perpetuate the self-sabotaging cycle because it's like, oh, I'm doing this thing that doesn't feel in alignment. And I know it's not serving my highest good. And I know it's not helping me reach the goals or do the things that I want to do. That feels bad. And now I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not, all the inner narratives start coming out. So in a way, just like everything, self-sabotage is also a really beautiful teacher because it can really mirror what is unresolved within your system, insecurity, anxiety, like executive dysfunction. I feel like a lot of times my self-sabotage comes through because I have ADHD with executive dysfunction where um, I just need a lot of time to like get through tasks sometimes. And so it's easier to kind of avoid those things when they feel hard, when that executive dysfunction is high. But I found for me, at least, it's like maybe we can also direct this conversation in how do we manage self-sabotage? How do we transform that? Because for me, what's helped the most is when I'm feeling that overwhelm or I'm feeling like, oh my God, this is really hard. It's usually because I'm looking at the whole picture and all the to-do things. So for me, it's usually always about breaking it down. Like, what can I do in this moment? Or what about this moment doesn't feel good? If you're recognizing that something is happening, whether it's self-sabotage or something else, but you can't maybe pinpoint that word for it, um, it always boils down back to, for me, like being curious about it, asking that energy questions. Why are you here? Why is this presenting? What is in my field? How can I support myself? How can I resolve this back into a place of, peace and grounding? And usually when we can work through that inner critic, that inner voice that's trying to tell you like, oh, all this stuff is happening because you're not trying hard enough and you're bad and you're all this kind of stuff, you can work better with the self-sabotage and you reverse the dynamic to where for me in the past it was like the self-sabotage came in when things were looking really good and in control in my life and would just shake it up like a giant tornado. And so now I feel like I have kind of the opposite. It's like I'm a storm watcher. I can see the clouds and I can see the signs and I can say, oh, there's that self-sabotage storm coming. There it is. Okay, I maybe can't make the storm go away, but I can get in the shelter and I can go in the basement and I can wait out the storm and kind of work through it. So patience in that moment too, because I can be quite impulsive when I'm uncomfortable because I don't want to be uncomfortable. So I want to move through it. So anyways, I'm going to pause there, but that's what came through for me.
That was good. There was really, that's what happens in self-sabotage so many times. There's a whole bunch of, oh, it's this and this and this and this and this and this, and then an overwhelm happens, and then you're like, I can't deal with this. So you go to self-soothe. It does become a lot. And I look at this as a funnel, right? You have all these things twirling like a tornado, you said. I have overbook myself or I forget that word.
Overcommit.
Commit, yes. But you can't really show up when you're not ready for it. And the overcommitting is already giving you a weight. So more than likely you will not be able to show up for it. And then kicks into guilt and shame. And then it goes down to, oh my gosh, I am worthless. It just keeps spiraling. And to me, where I stand now, it ultimately always stops, ends with, or begins with everything. The origination is your relationship to your belief, idea of who you are and what you are. Not who you are as, I am Melinda and I am a hairstylist and I am a mother. And no, it's much deeper. It's, that I am a being. Well, where does that being come from? Where's my origination? And the deeper you go in that and find that eternal aspect of yourself, the everlasting, the one that does not perish, and start to have a connection with that and stand in that, then that's your base. Then you have this foundation of love. But there's a lot of stuff that lines that it's almost like have been set up as guard walls. Oh, I don't see that. I don't know that I am this eternal existence. So maybe something won't happen. Fear just jumps in there and you pull out of there. And then from there, it keeps on going. All these fear pieces, and then some, stuck anger, some beliefs of, oh, well, so and so did this, and this is what happened. So this is what could happen. And you just start building it with these beliefs that aren't true. You step further and further away from the truth and away from the truth. And that's like, having a water source in the desert where you can get nourished. But the further you step away and keep swirling around, you lose your way. And humanity has done that really well. We've lost our way. We've come so far away from even knowing what truth is. What do you mean, truth? Truth is what I say. We are riddled with diseases, not easement of living, of existence. And, we call that anxiety. We call that, certain mental illnesses, uncontrollable emotions, control. So bring it all home, y'all. You got that God particle, or really when you rest into this present moment in this space and tune in, or just simply listen and ease in to that presence that is there at all times, that is you still, and allow a connection that there is an eternal source that has created this, that is supplying this at all times, any minute in your life. All you have to do is become aware of it and come back there. And the minute you do that, it's like you found that fountain of water in the desert. You'll be nourished. Your nervous system will relax. You start to see clear because you can look around. Oh, look, there are trees over there. I didn't realize there's shelter, there's shade. Oh, look, homes, opportunities. And I get it. The struggle is real. We've all been there. Some of us more than others. And gosh, I've lived years in anxiety that I thought was a normal state of being. Having a stomach ache is normal. Doesn't everybody's stomach hurt all the time? What? It's setting at age 9. It's just here forever. Or, being worried. gosh, when I recognized that I had this constant ongoing worry about my loved ones, um, I was driving home from work. I used to work with my brother, and we left at the same time. So if I didn't see his car behind me, in my mind that I already killed him in an accident, it was like, whoa, where did I get this from? Oh, my mother used to worry all the time. You know what? I don't want this. This isn't good. This isn't fun. And it took actually quite some time and effort to release that this is a belief that was placed inside me. It's not true. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to go through all these fears when my brother doesn't show up for an hour to a birthday party simply because he's late. But, in my mind, just all these things happened. Why do we jump to that worry? Gosh, what does it do? So a lot of these patterns of believing and handling these self-sabotage parts are handed down to us as a nice gift. Here's love. I love you. You better worry. Because, I worry about you. So worry means love. I actually used to think worry equaled this person cares about me, this person loves me.
Yeah.
So come back to the fountain. It's in your breath. It's just right there. So simple. You take your breath, bring yourself back to your heart. Listen to your heartbeat for a second. Even touch, feel your heartbeat. Stay in that breath. And you start to feel your nervous system calming. You start to feel your thought pieces, mind pieces coming back to the right here, to this present moment. And if your mind is still, playing in the circus, I invite you to just come here, just wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you have time to take a breath. You cannot tell me you don't have time for slowed down breath. And in that breath is your fountain of nourishment.
Oh, that was
I'm out
beautiful.
for today. Problem solved. There's the key. A
She's here all
golden
week,
key that
y'all.
unlocks anything and everything. A key to the kingdom of abundance and of peace and love.
Yes, that was beautiful. Wow, I got chills when you were talking. And you made so many good points. Like, I know my brain's not gonna be able to talk about them all, but the main ones I want to touch on that came through for me is fear is an excellent point. Um, yeah, 99% of the time I'm self-sabotaging because of some kind of fear. And because my ego, the identity that attaches to things to feel safe and to make sense of 3D world, wants to try to control that fear. To, give the illusion that if it knows the information, then the fear will go away. But that's just not the case most of the time. Because even when like, oh, I know if I go ziplining, I'm going to be fine because I'm attached to a harness. That still isn't going to help you overcome your fear of heights once you're up there. So it's just like you can still logically, you know, try to soothe yourself, but fear is like any other emotion. It's a full body system experience. So it's the more we try to bully, criticize, judge ourselves into getting out of fear, the more that self-saboteur is going to come through and confirm to you why all your fears are true. And the fact that you can't overcome your fear is the exact proof of why the self-saboteur is right. And it gets really tricky because then you just want to, it's like you want to fight with that energy. But the key is to love it. Always kill anything with kindness and love, because that is truly the key to liberation. Even if someone is having a full blown reaction, and let's say you being kind to them just escalates that, cool. What you're doing though is you're forcing them to be in their own echo chamber of energy, to where the only thing that's bouncing back now is their own anger. This person's totally calm and collected. It's making me even more angry because I'm not getting that reaction that I wanted, to prove to myself saboteur that everybody is against me. So real life example that one of my friends told me the other day, um, is she was online playing like an online game, and she met this stranger in a chat room, and he just kept spamming her, basically just being like, I need friends, I want friends, nobody will ever be friends with me, they always just, oh yeah, so that was the thing, he like started off the conversation trying to offer her all of this free stuff, and she's like, oh, I don't, I don't need your stuff, like I'll be your friend, you don't need to bribe me to be your friend, essentially. And he was like, everybody just uses me and wants all this stuff from me, and that's the only reason they're friends. Like he had this like whole belief system in
The
place. And
script of my
yeah,
life. It's like it's this and this and this and this and this.
yeah.
And
And
I'm
it was like
gonna let
all
you
this
know right ahead
long
of
laundry
time.
list of reasons why he's alone and has no friends. And she was just, venting to me about it. And she was like, it was wild because I was offering friendship, I was offering support, I was, even giving him advice. Like, there are people out there who will love and support you. You just have to find the right ones. And, clearly, if people are wanting things from you for friendship, that's not like real friendship. And he was just like, he was just in this cycle of like, nope, this is the reality, and this is the reality that will always be. And it's like, well, yeah, if you keep like introducing yourself by being like, oh, be my friend because I'm giving you all this stuff when they're not even asking for it. So anyways, where am I going with that? I think a lot of times I've definitely been there. Like maybe not to that degree, but I've definitely been in that cycle where it's like I have this very limiting belief. So mine for the longest time was people take advantage of my kindness um and use me. That was one of mine. And the reality was, I was a people pleaser. This was another thing that came through our attachment styles. It may also help you for those because, yeah, I definitely think part of our self saboteur energy does come from inheriting things from our parents, school, like wherever. For me, I definitely got the same thing from my mom, Melinda, that like worry about everything, particularly about like being kidnapped, like when you're out in public and stuff, or like just things not being safe. And I didn't realize that that came from my mother until like honestly like about a week ago. It just like it was one of those epiphany moments where I was like, oh my gosh, this like fear I have for my safety doesn't actually come from me because I'm really adventurous and I love to travel and do new things all the time. And I was like that as a kid too. And my mom would just always tell me like, you're a female, you can't travel alone, you're gonna get kidnapped, you're gonna be killed, you're gonna make, look at this girl who was alone, she got murdered, like just like she was trying to protect me. It came from love, it came from her wanting to protect me, to be like, hey, don't go out alone because you could be murdered. And it's like, yes, mom, I could. But I could also walk out of my door tomorrow and like lightning hits me out of nowhere. And like we can't know when we're going to die and we can't control that. So, like, am I just not going to ever travel or live my life because of the possibility that there might be someone there to murder me? So, anyways, what I had to realize when it came to this self saboteur belief of nobody actually likes me for me. People just take advantage of my kindness. The reality was, and it took a while to kind of admit this to myself, but or even just come to an awareness about it. Because this was again comes to that anxious attachment style and like codependency, is I didn't know how to set boundaries and I didn't know how to enforce boundaries. And I thought at that time that to show love, it meant sacrificing yourself. So I had to work through those energies before that self-saboteur like pattern stopped playing out. And now I don't believe that. And when people come to me and go, you're responsible, and I've actually had this said to me before, you're responsible for how I'm feeling hurt right now. And it's like, oh, I mean, no, I'm not. But like, let's break it down. Let's talk about it. Because what's happening is like when we have visceral reactions like that, it's because we're all mirrors to each other. And something that someone is doing is now triggering an unresolved aspect within yourself. So for that person, it was this need to feel like saved in a way, like coddled, like I need people to like help me process my emotions. And like take responsibility for my emotions because they're too uncomfortable for me right now to do that. Um, Now, where am I going with the rest of the statement? Yeah, the awareness and the self-love and compassion, I think is just really important because we all have our own patterns that, yeah, that we've inherited, but that are also just within us. Um, so it just starts with that awareness. What is a pattern that's playing out in your life all the time that you don't like? And have you been seeing it through the lens of victimhood? Um, and that's not to say to like invalidate yourself if you've gone through something that was unjustified. At the same time, it's important to not attach to that. and stay in the victim role. It's okay to recognize something bad has been done to you. And then the journey is transitioning from the victim that had that happen to them to the survivor that is now persevering and overcoming it. So, because bad things happen, whether it's from other people, whether it's from random events, like accidents out in nature, just random things. There's always steps you can take to get out of a situation or to transform a situation. So take the time you need to process something, but then really sit with yourself and see, okay, if I can't keep relationships and I have this belief that it's everybody else, well, what within you is maybe perpetuating that narrative? Is it you're self-sabotaging in the way where you get really close with people, and then once it hits a certain level, you get freaked out, so you kind of, pull away, distance yourself? Is it you have all these things you want to do, but then you go to do them, you get stage fright, anxiety, and so you cancel it? Like, what is the thing where it's like, these things just never work out for me, or I can never do this thing because of XYZ? Where are you putting attachment on external circumstances having the power and control over what's happening in your narrative? Yes, there's always things that are out of our control, but there's also always steps we can do to work through that, even if it's not a step to fix a problem. Even if that step is, like Melinda said, just simply connecting to the breath, regrounding yourself, restabilizing, clearing out any brain fog or anything that's keeping you from like really connecting to what your heart is telling you to do, what's going to bring, like, really serve and protect you. Even if it's just self-soothing, that is that next step forward to knowing, like, the next step that's either going to present itself to you or that's going to come naturally through like your own internal reflection. Yeah.
Here's a truckload that happens in the mind, in that internal conversation. And we wonder why we feel overwhelmed, scared, insecure. It's like a yarn of energetic movements. And when you're not aware that this is patterns, this isn't you, the people get into it and think that this is all my life, all these, that people don't like me, or whatever the form of self-sabotage, the misbelief, I'm not safe in the world, what if I don't make enough money, what if this, what if my loved one will leave me? All these things are away from our fountain and creating their own existence, kind of their own belief, their own, how every organism, when it starts to gather and grow, then it like individuates. And people who live in that, and before they wake up and start looking, oh wait, this isn't fully just me, when they're still in the midst of it, I acknowledge there's a lot of pain in there. There's a lot of disconnection. There's a lot of, self-protection from believing that that is true. So it's like I hold this acknowledging, embracing space for you, for those of you who are listening and you resonate with this, and these are still in your system predominantly, and they show up in your life quite often, that pegging a tune of remembrance in there, and in that remembrance to lift up just a bit, like become self-aware. When you make that connection with your higher self, you can ask, hey, remind me, please. And you will be reminded. And at that time, you just lift up above this situation, these beliefs, and you're like, oh, I came way away from that fountain. I got lost here. Let me go back home. just that itself will start to soothe all those thoughts jumping around. And as you start walking back home, as you start noting your breathing, it's like those dissolve. You realize, oh, that's not true, actually. I don't, let me tap into that. It's not true that you're not loved. So that's the foremost. Let's start with that, right? Because that's a huge fear for a lot of us. It is actually impossible for a human being to not be loved. Let's start with that. If you were not loved, you would not be embodied here. You wouldn't be breathing here. You wouldn't be listening to this. Fact. Your origin, our original parent, that which creates all, the love, that pristine love, that pure original love, made it available for humanity, for human to exist. You are a unique expression of kind of like the shoot out of that love. You have your soul parts dressed up around you, your personality, your unique thoughts. And actually, thoughts aren't that unique. A lot of us have similar thoughts. So you just pick them from the ocean of thoughts with what you resonate with the most. And then you have your own emotions. But again, emotions are universal. When we feel happy, we feel happy. When we describe it, it's quite similar. So you have this kind of like dress up of human templating. And then within that, you know, you're really your unique expression. But it starts from that love. And when you tap into that love, which is right here in the fountain, you can find it there. The fountain itself is love sprucing out. And when you come into there, and the doorway is your breath. So every moment of your existence, you have a free way to get there. You simply need to remember. This is what they say, our that veil of humanity, that forgetfulness, us dropping into the 3D. We went through so much density in frequencies that we've forgotten this, but now we're remembering. So you can't unhear this. You know it now. It is remembering it enough times. And we put the GPS there too. We connected that to your higher self. So we're doing a lot of actual work here. We're constructing something here. You know, you might think that these are just words, but the dimension that my voice carries from hits deeper in you than what you would think just your physical self. So through your breath, you go to that fountain. You make more deeper relationship with that fountain of love. And you will never, ever question or feel that you are not loved, because it is within you. Nothing is without of you. It is within you. And when you come into that love in yourself, with yourself, to yourself, of yourself, you just start to embody it. With every breath, it flows into your body and you start to emanate it. And when you do, then you'll have people responding, coming to that, and you start to see it in your outside world. And you notice, oh my gosh, I have people who love me so much around me. You shift your life like this. I am not kidding. Those who cannot recognize it, who still constrict from their own pain, will either wake up in your presence They'll feel something that's good and they want to know more information from you. They want to spend more time with you, or they start to fall away if they're not ready. They'll come in their own time. That's not your worry. It's okay. You're not losing anybody. Things shift and transform at times. When you know and feel that you are loved, then again, those self-sabotaging thoughts, they cannot exist in this space. Like try to pull in this space, try to pull in a self-sabotaging feeling, and you may pull in the memory of it, but you can't, it's just like your system, like, no, why would I? You're in a higher resonance. You're in a different frequency platform than the self-sabotage. So the more you're in this higher frequency platform, the self-sabotage pieces simply, they just become irrelevant in your life. And the longer you don't give them that energetic food of taking actions in them, they fall away from you. That is how you release patterns. They simply dissolve from your life. And when they come back, because we notice that sometimes they come back, then you tapped on something within you that was still held by a belief, attached by a belief that is not quite remembering this fountain of love.
Oh, that was amazing. Yes, I agree so much with that. And just to add to that for the thoughts, yeah, we're not our thoughts, which is fantastic news. So, but we all have thoughts that come through our system and we're like, what in the wild heck is that? Whether it's an intrusive thought, like I get this one all the time. Whenever I'm on like a hotel balcony or just anything that has any kind of elevation, I'll get intrusive thoughts sometimes that's like, what if you just like threw yourself off the balcony and ended it all? And I'm like, or how about not? Like, how about we not do that? And I'm not trigger warning, I'm not suicidal or anything like that, just for the record. So to have that thought is like always very like, what? But it's also, I honestly kind of love when those thoughts come in because it is such a great reminder of like, oh, that truly did not, nothing about that thought came from any part of me. Like that
Yeah.
that was like cosmic garbage that somehow made it through
I
the
know.
spam of
It's
my
like it's
brain.
floating through. And if I care to, I would pull it in. But it's like, no, I definitely don't care to pull that in. Keep
Yeah.
on floating.
Yeah, and so this was told to me, and I use it to this day. I love it. Is whenever you have a thought that you're just like, I don't like that, I don't align with that, I don't want that to be my reality. You can just clearly say, clear alt delete,
Yeah.
goodbye. Then I even imagine like if you turn off like a TV or something, just like the screen going black, like just you're gone now. And then yeah, and then it's gone. And it's as easy as that. Like I think sometimes like, and I'm guilty of this too, I'll have a thought. Maybe not one that's so easy to identify as that. Like when those ones come through, it's comical because I'm like, that's yeah. But sometimes they come through and the thoughts are like triggering because you're like, whoa, 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 that's heavy. Where did that thought come from? And when those times come in, it's a little harder because the ego or wherever this energy comes from wants to trick you to be like, this is the real you. Ha 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 ha. Look at the thought you're having. And it's just like, but is it? Like, is it me having the thought? Because where did this originate from? Why is this here? Like, so the thought one is I think where it gets really tricky, especially if you're someone who's an overthinker and is in your head a lot. So for those people, my advice to you would be to just get into the body, whether that's stretching, breathing, walking outside, taking a cold shower. It's just changing like, it's like shifting that energy in real time, like doing something that gets you out of that thought form. Because the more you feed your energy into that thought form, the more it has power and energy to like gain momentum and materialize into your reality. And it's not saying that if you have like an intrusive thought that's going to happen. It's just saying like the more that we start believing that that thought has weight, power, and control, that's when like things start manifesting. So I feel like there's something else I was going to say, but it's left. The love piece is just really important. like Melinda said, we all have an infinite well of love within ourselves. So if you self-sabotage because you have anxious attachment and you're like trying to just keep everyone around, regardless of how they serve you in your journey, because that's how you feel like you get love is by numbers, like start working through that fear, that belief. If you're on the other side where it's like you have avoidant attachment and it's like stay away from me with the 10-foot pole, research into that. Like why, what happened, what's the memory, what's the belief that happened to now have me feeling and embodying that having connections with people aren't safe, or that loving isn't safe. And usually the key to embodying that self-love to such a degree to where you're able to be in pretty much a constant state of awareness of all the different energies, patterns playing out, is truly tapping into your infinite love. Like whenever that self-saboteur comes, now in my journey, I really just listen to it to see, okay, well, why do you want to do this when we know it doesn't necessarily serve us? And like most of the time it's because there's a part of me that's like wanting to punish myself or something because I'm again not tapping into that loving source. So if you're someone that really struggles with self-love, it's just what are steps we can take to start incorporating what we're needing. So affirmations are really great, or even just logging into your voice recorder or journaling like the different um like dense energies coming through. So whether it's like I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now and that's why I feel like I can't get out of this pattern, or the thoughts are just really heavy, like I just can't get out of my head, like start logging those, because a lot of times for overthinkers or just people who are really in a mental space, most people keep those thoughts there and they're just trying to like sort through them in their own head, and you get caught in thought loops, like you get caught in this like never ending cycle. And you can kind of just like, I call it getting lost in the sauce. You just kind of like go out in the astral and you're kind of just floating around like what is happening. So get those thoughts out of your system so you can see them, they're not ruminating in there anymore, and you can actually start like digesting them and taking them at your own pace instead of trying to like incorporate, integrate, and process a million and one things happening at one time. And I feel like I'm rambling now, so I'm going to stop there.
Okay. Thank you. And yeah, I refer back to what I said earlier. Yes, it's when you get caught up in things, come back home. And it is time for us to end. What I'll add here is the frequency clearing and immersion that I did on self-sabotage. I'm gonna put the link down below. You can check it out. It I identify and I speak to self-sabotage patterns and to find the origin of them inside you and uproot them. And also, if you listened to this far, please comment. Just pause it now or comment so we know what you're interested in. Tell us whether you like this, what other topics would you like us to elaborate on. And there was one more thing I wanted to share, but I totally forgot. So
It'll come back if it's
it will come back. And I think we've covered this good today. There is, no matter what is your expression of self-sabotage, it always comes from your forgetting that you are from that never ending, eternal well, or fountain of love. So just come back there and you'll see such shifts in your life.
Absolutely. And to plug something coming up for me in my world, if you are someone who's navigating a lot of self-sabotage and you just really like don't even know where those patterns are starting or beginning, or you just needing extra support and like physically releasing that energy, on February 16th, my friend Sadie and me from Merkaba Heart are going to be doing a 2-hour online event. It's going to be the first hour and a half will be me reading tarot and oracle cards for the group, seeing what the group energy is. So if you brought, if you're someone who's wanting to work through self-sabotage, we could look into those energies there. And then to conclude the event, my friend Sadie is a sound healer. She works a lot with, her passion is focusing on divine feminine, but she also works with the masculine as well. But healing ancestral trauma, grief, all those kinds of things. And she does it through sound. So I say they, she has a partner she does it with, but he won't be there. But she's incredible at what she does. I've done a 2-hour sound healing thing with her, just one-on-one. And woo, yeah, it was good stuff. So that's February 16th. It's going to be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. PST. And I will post all of that information down in the description below if you want to join. And yeah, please leave a comment. Let us know where you're at in your journey, what your thoughts are on self-sabotage. These conversations are really for the collective and for us to come together and to continue to elaborate on these conversations. And like I will probably end up saying in most of these videos, what Melinda and I pick on, most things are a spectrum and there's so many different perspectives to take from it. So this is one to two unique perspectives on self-sabotage and what came through for us, but everyone's going to have their own juicy nuggets from how they've overcome it, how it manifests, all these different things. So let us know your thoughts on self-sabotage and how we can all support each other and this beautiful community that we're creating in family.
Thank you. And you commented on releasing ancestral things through the sound. It's coming up. I did an ancestral clearing. Well, actually, I started it as a general clearing, and then ancestors came through just last Saturday. And so I'm doing an ancestors acknowledgement actually tomorrow, Thursday, February, what's tomorrow, 9th, 7th, 8th, 9th?
I think the 9th. Yeah.
Okay, 9th. So February 9th, Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And if you watch this afterwards, I'll link it below. You can get the replay because it is coming through the collective very strongly. Our ancestors want to be acknowledged for what they've done. It is because of them and what they've experienced that we are here where we are now, that they have pushed us to this point of evolution. They hold keys for us, and they also hold a lot of things that we can help them release. And with that, we help ourselves. This is, again, for the collective as humanity. Even the ones who are gone, the ones who are to come. We are the generation. We are the light workers who clean this template and start anew. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Iridescent, for just stepping into this, that we're both called to do this, because I'm sure a lot of people don't have a partner to converse with about things like this. If you're in an environment where people aren't awakened to this yet, here we blah blah, I'm talking, it feels like I'm slowing down. Here we elaborate on some of these things that are present in all of us in our unique ways, so you're not alone in any of this. I will also post my Facebook group in the link where we come together in support of each other. Mm-hmm. And with that, I'm out.
Yeah. Peace.